Hockey season is only a few days away from starting, but we will start on the second day of the regular season. Our first game versus the Winnipeg Jets on Wednesday, October the 13th. I hope the Ducks play very well in their first game and give a good first impression to the fans on this season. So for today's episode of QUACKAST, episode 1 of the season, I will preview the matchups. I'll actually preview our first 2 matchups. The next one that we play is going to be in 6 days from the day I'm shooting this video on Friday versus the Minnesota Wild. Alright, with that all being said, let's do a preview on what our Ducks should look like and the history of the two teams in past matchups, who players that are significant to watch for, and predictions. Let's get into it. So, the Winnipeg Jets, that city is in Manitoba, Canada, and that hockey team that I mentioned that we will be playing travels to the Honda Center in Anaheim to take on our Ducks. The Jets, it's not really a big rivalry. The Jets and Ducks have played some really good games over the years, but they do have some history. Do you guys remember the 2014-15 playoffs that feel like 50 years ago? Well, in that series, we swept the Jets in 4 games, and back then the roster was very different outside of just, Ryan Getzlaf was still there, but literally everything else that was there is not there anymore. Even Corey Perry. He's now on the Tampa Bay Lightning, by the way, the team that's won back-to-back cups. Sorry, I stumbled there. So, let's take a look at some history between the two teams. So, all-time against the Ducks at Honda Center, the Winnipeg Jets are a record of 9-6-0-3. So the 0 would be for ties, but that's the 90s, and unfortunately ties are not a thing anymore. So 9-6-3 is a good record, but lifetime versus the Ducks, the Jets are a total of 17-13-0, again with the ties that don't exist anymore, and 5, and the 5 is for overtime losses or losses beyond regulation, meaning overtime or shootout, which I believe was invented in the 2004 season. So the Jets have been really good but not elite. They have been bounced out of the playoffs a few times. They were bounced out in the conference finals by the Golden Knights in their inaugural season. The Knights went on to lose to the Capitals. You might remember that as the year Alex Ovechkin won his first cup. Might be his only one, sadly. They've been to the second round of the playoffs a couple times. I think the year after they made it, they got eliminated by the Predators in the first round. So players to watch on that team, with this one being a Honda Center, I have on tap to watch. Let's watch for Blake Wheeler and Mark Scheifele, 2 wingers who are the Jets' top scorers. And they've always done well against the Ducks. Along with Wheeler and Scheifele, let's also watch for Kyle Connor and Nikolai Ehlers. Those 2 are the speedsters and can score goals at a pretty good rate. Ehlers is the fastest one of those 2 that I mentioned, him and Kyle Connor. So be sure to keep your eye on that, guys. Numbers 26, 55, 81, and 27. As for the goalies, we should expect to see Connor Hellebuck in net for the Jets. He is a pretty solid goalie. He has had votes for the Vezina, but he's not like the elite, into the elite tier of goalies, I don't think, just yet. He's a pretty big dude, though. And he has, as I said, he's done pretty good. He has the playoff experience, what I mentioned. Not the time that we went to the playoffs versus the Jets. That was a different goalie at the time. So that should be a good matchup. And I think that for the Ducks, we need to watch for Trevor Zegras. So you may remember this name from last year. He played with us in spurts, bouncing up and down from the AHL and the big club. He scored 3 career goals, including one in Ryan Miller's last game.
Most impressive.
But he kept getting knocked off the puck a lot. So for Trevor Zegras, I hope he takes a big step forward and he could score a bunch of goals. I heard speculation saying he could be up for the Calder. I don't know. Along with Zegras, his teammate from the World Juniors, who's also on this team, let's watch for Jamie Drysdale, the defenseman who's like 19 years old. He's really young, wears number 44. And then a guy I talked about a lot, Maxime Comtois, who changed his number from 53 to 44. He was our leading goal scorer. He scored, I think he broke the 20-goal plateau, which is really good. Hopefully he can stay that way and maybe even break 30 goals in a season. John Gibson will be the man in net most likely for us, with Anthony Stolarz as his backup. So let's also watch for Gibby, number 36, between the pipes. And finally, let's take a look now at the Friday game, and then we'll predict both who I think will win. The Friday game is against the Minnesota Wild. The Wild we talked about a few times last year, and the Wild won 3 out of 4 versus us last year, and they had one big name on their team that we had to watch out for. While he didn't make a bunch of the big plays against us, I watched him make big plays against a bunch of other teams, and that is Kirill Kaprizov. So when I mentioned Kirill Kaprizov, he came overseas from the KHL, the Continental, it's spelled with a K, Hockey League, and he came from Russia, and he cemented himself immediately, and he looked like he was going to win Rookie of the Year. I'm not sure if he won the Rookie of the Year award. I don't remember. It's been a little too long. But aside from him, there are some other good players on the Wild that we do need to look out for. And it won't be Zach Parise. He was bought out of his contract with 4 years remaining on it, and they lost veteran defenseman Ryan Suter to the Dallas Stars. So for Minnesota, a team that we need to look out for, I would say look out for Ryan Hartman. He was a first-round pick, 30th overall a few years ago. He scored in tonight's preseason game. Also, veteran defenseman Jared Spurgeon, number 46, and Matt Dumba, number 24, are a couple players that we need to watch for there. And their goalie for the Wild should be either Cam Talbot or Capo Kakinen. We have faced each of those two a few times. There was a chance we might have that Kakinen might have been lost to the new team that we'll talk about later on called the Seattle Kraken, but they took defenseman Carson Soucy instead after he signed an extension. So my predictions for the game, for the Minnesota Wild versus the Ducks, and for the Jets game, I'm going to pick the Ducks to lose against the Jets because they have more offensive firepower we do, though their defense isn't really superb, even though they got Nate Schmidt for a third-round pick. I'm going to go with a overtime, or no, not overtime, but I'll go with a 4-3 loss. No, I will go in overtime. 4-3 loss in overtime to the Jets, and I'll pick a win against the Wild, and it will be a Wild game with a score of 3-2. Ducks win this game in regulation. So those are my predictions. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. But before we go tonight, I will tell you this. I do predict that the Ducks will win at least one regular season game. I have 82 chances to get that right. Let's see how it plays out. So my friends, that will be it for this episode of QUACKAST. Tell me what you thought of it in the comments below. Remember to click the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, click the bell to be notified when I post new content, and do stay tuned for more QUACKAST in the future, maybe from another location. Who knows? I might just do that. And some roast off barbecue. I think we are going to barbecue again soon in the future. That also could come to you from a new location somewhere in Southern California. And with that all being said, enjoy your evening, and let's go Ducks. Let's get a win.